After brave maid Grace Okafor exposes her employer's murderous fiancé, she expects peace. Instead, shadows close in. A man whispers her name through mansion vents. A mysterious figure points at her from the darkness. And a place called Riverside haunts her dreams. When billionaire Marcus Wellington discovers Grace is actually Amara, the lost daughter holding secrets that could topple a pharmaceutical empire, they must unravel 15 years of lies before corporate assassins silence the only witness to mass murder forever. Hey family, welcome to Real Life Heart Stories. Please subscribe and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for the support. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The mansion was quieter than it had been in years. Not the peaceful kind of quiet that comes after celebration. No, this felt like the air itself was afraid to move, afraid to breathe, afraid that any sound might break the thin thread of calm holding everything together. Victoria had been taken away hours ago. David Mensa walked out shortly after, shoulders stiff, eyes tired, but his heart finally lightened by truth. Chief Hayes had followed him briefly, speaking softly, apologizing with the voice of a man who had lost too much already. Afterward, he left the mansion, too ashamed to face anyone inside. Mama Tessa prayed quietly in the corner, whispering words only heaven could interpret. Marcus Wellington stood outside the mansion gates, hands in his pockets, staring at the slow sunset as though trying to read a hidden message in the sky. His mind replayed the last few hours like a broken movie reel. Victoria's screams, the confession, the recording, the betrayal buried beneath silk and smiles. For years, he believed loyalty meant closing your eyes to the shadows around a person. He believed love meant protecting someone even when they didn't deserve it. But today taught him something new. Love was truth, and truth was freedom. He inhaled deeply, letting the cool evening breeze wash over him. Behind him, workers moved quietly through the house, resetting chairs, wiping tables, sweeping marble floors. Not because he told them to, but because they didn't know what else to do with their hands while their hearts processed everything they'd witnessed. Inside, Grace finished rinsing her hands in the staff kitchen sink. She dried them on a small towel and stared at her reflection in the glass cupboard door. Her face looked tired, more tired than expected. For a day she hadn't anticipated being at the center of. She touched her wrist, the same wrist she'd used to catch Victoria's slap. She didn't regret it, not for a second, but she also hadn't expected the chaos that followed. A soft knock at the doorframe made her turn. It was Mama Tessa. "Child," the older woman said gently, stepping inside. "I need to speak with you." Grace nodded and followed her to the corner of the kitchen, where light from the window painted Mama Tessa's face in warm gold and soft shadows. They sat for a moment. The older woman said nothing, her eyes lowered, deep in thought, almost sad. "Are you all right, Ma?" Grace asked softly. Mama Tessa lifted her head and chuckled, one of those tired laughs that never reached the eyes. "I should be asking you that question." She reached out and held Grace's hand. "My dear, you were brave today, but your bravery came at a cost none of us expected." Grace shook her head. "I didn't want trouble. I only wanted her to stop." "And she did," Mama Tessa said. "Because of you." Silence again. Then Grace asked the question she'd been avoiding since the chaos began. "Do you think I did the right thing?" Mama Tessa squeezed her hand. "My child, the truth is simple. You saved someone else from being hurt. That is always the right thing." Grace exhaled deeply, relief softening her shoulders. But Mama Tessa wasn't finished. "There is something you must understand about this house," the woman continued. "People think working for the wealthy is only about cleaning, arranging, cooking. But sometimes it's also about seeing their secrets, their weaknesses, their hidden wounds." Grace swallowed. She knew where this was going. "Victoria's downfall began long before you stopped her hand," Mama Tessa said softly. "You didn't break her. Life did. Her choices did. Her lies did. You were only the mirror she finally had to face." Grace nodded slowly. Mama Tessa leaned closer. But Grace, there is one person in this house whose future now ties into yours. Grace blinked. She didn't understand. Who, Ma? Mama Tessa smiled gently. Marcus. Grace jumped slightly. No, Ma. Sir Marcus is a billionaire. I'm just a maid. He's going through too much already. Mama Tessa lifted her hand and Grace fell silent. Child, she said with a knowing look. You remind him of something he hasn't seen in a long time. Grace's heart thudded. She looked away quickly. I don't want any misunderstanding. I respect him, but nothing more. Mama Tessa tilted her head. And if life says otherwise? Grace's breath caught. Before she could answer, footsteps approached. Both women turned. Marcus. He stood at the doorway, framed by fading sunlight, his expression unreadable. Grace, he said quietly. May I speak with you? Mama Tessa stood immediately. I'll give you two space. She slipped out, leaving Grace alone with the man whose life had just fallen apart before her eyes. Marcus walked in slowly, stopped a few feet away, and rested one hand on the counter. He didn't look angry. He didn't look hurt. He didn't look confused. He looked human. Something Grace had never seen in him so clearly before. Thank you, he said. Grace blinked. For what, sir? For being brave when everyone else, including me, was blind. Grace lowered her gaze. I didn't do anything special. You did more than you know, Marcus replied. You stopped a cycle. You protected people. You showed me the truth about someone I thought I knew. He paused. You helped me open my eyes. Grace's throat tightened. I only wanted peace, sir. And yet, Marcus said gently, you brought justice. He took a breath. Then another. There was something else he wanted to say, but he hesitated, weighing his words carefully. Grace, he finally whispered, I know today was heavy for all of us, but tomorrow will bring its own challenges. My board will hear about this incident. The media might come knocking. My extended family will certainly try to twist the story. Grace looked up slowly. What should we do? Marcus's eyes softened. I don't know yet, but, he exhaled. I know I want you to stay in this house. Grace froze. I don't want to cause more trouble. You won't. But Victoria will not be returning. Silence. Only the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the room. Then Marcus stepped back slightly, gave her a small, sincere smile and said, When the dust settles, I would like us to talk again. Properly. Grace's heart stumbled. Yes, sir, she whispered. He nodded gently and walked out. The moment he left, Grace pressed a hand against her chest. Her heart wasn't just beating. It was warning her, or calling her. She didn't know which. Behind her, Mama Tessa reappeared quietly. So, the old woman said with a sly smile, how did the talk go? Grace's cheeks burned. Mama! The older woman laughed softly and patted her shoulder. My dear, part 2 of your life has already begun. Night fell over the mansion like a velvet curtain, soft and quiet, but carrying a heaviness that settled into every corner. There were no raised voices now, no slamming doors, no echoes of fear or anger. Instead, there was an eerie calm, the kind that follows disaster, not because everything was resolved, but because everyone was too drained to speak. In the staff quarters, some workers whispered in small groups. Others kept to themselves. Some were afraid. Some were relieved. But all of them, in different ways, were changed. Because today, truth had walked into the mansion and demanded to be heard. The next morning arrived too quietly. The sun rose over the mansion with soft golden glow, but the house did not wake with its usual rhythm. No hurried footsteps in hallways, no clatter of breakfast dishes, no gentle greetings between staff. Instead, everyone moved as though their bodies were present, but their spirits were still stuck in yesterday's chaos. Grace stood by one of the long dining tables, wiping it carefully even though it was already clean. Her hands were steady, but her mind was not. She had barely slept, barely eaten, barely breathed without replaying every second. Victoria's scream, David's rage, Chief Hayes's confession. Marcus's face breakable, wounded, human. She had never felt so close to the heart of someone else's storm. Footsteps echoed faintly. She turned. It was the head butler, Mr. Collard, older, composed, but visibly tense. "Grace," he said, voice low. "Master Marcus is asking for you in the study." Her heart jumped. "Me? Why, sir?" His eyes darted toward the hallway as if someone might overhear. "I don't know." But the tone, the way he said it, he paused. "Just go quickly." Grace wiped her palms on her apron and walked through the mansion with careful steps. Her heart thudded louder the closer she got to the study. Something felt different this morning. Not wrong, not dangerous, but charged. When she reached the door, she knocked softly. "Come in," Marcus's voice answered. She entered. Marcus stood by the window, back turned, hands clasped behind him. He was dressed in a sharp charcoal suit. Not for work, she sensed, but for a battle. Papers were scattered across his desk, some stamped in red, others with headlines from tabloids. He didn't turn around. "Grace," he said quietly, "tell me something honestly." Her fingers tightened slightly. "Yes, sir." "Do you regret what you did?" Grace blinked. "No, sir. If I had to do it again, I would still stop." Her hand. Marcus finally turned. His eyes, not as cold as last night but still wounded, met hers. "I'm glad," he said. Then he walked to his desk, picked up a newspaper and handed it to her. She read the headline, "Billionaire's fiancé arrested. Maid involved in mansion scandal." Her stomach dropped. She didn't want her name tied to scandal. She didn't come here to be seen. She came to work quietly and leave quietly. Her fingers trembled slightly as she lowered the paper. Marcus watched her carefully. "I'm sorry," he said. "The press twisted everything. They're camped outside the gate. They want statements. They want interviews. They want faces." He paused. "They want you." Grace's eyes widened in fear. "Me? Why me, sir? I didn't do anything wrong." "You didn't," Marcus said firmly. "But they don't care about truth. They care about stories. And you," he exhaled slowly, "have become the center of one." Grace stepped back, panic rising in her chest. "No, no, sir. I can't be in the news. My mother is sick. People in my village will worry. I don't want trouble. Please." Marcus moved toward her. "Grace, calm down. I won't let anyone harm you." But his reassurance wasn't enough to steady her breathing. Because this time the danger wasn't Victoria. It was the world. Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I will protect you," he said softly. "But I need you to trust me." She looked up at him. And for a moment, the study felt smaller, quieter, almost like a confession. "I do trust you," she whispered. He didn't move his hand. "And I need you today." His tone deepened. "There are things I must handle. Things that may affect everyone in this house. But before that, I need to know something." She waited. His eyes searched hers with an intensity she wasn't prepared for. "Why do you always look so fearless?" She blinked in surprise. "I'm not fearless, sir. I just don't want my fear to control me." Marcus's chest rose as if the words reached deeper than she intended. Before he could respond, a loud, urgent knock exploded against the door. Marcus's face hardened instantly. "Come in." The head of security stepped inside, breathing heavily. "Sir, there's a problem." Marcus straightened. "What now?" "It's David Mensa." Grace gasped. "What about him?" Marcus asked sharply. "He didn't go home last night." Marcus frowned. "Where is he then?" "That's the problem," the guard said. "He never left the compound." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean he never left?" The guard swallowed. "We found his car parked behind the eastern wall." He paused. "And sir, he wasn't alone." Marcus stiffened. "You mean someone else was with him?" The guard shook his head slowly. "No, sir. I mean someone came to meet him." A cold wave washed through the room. Grace's heart pounded. Marcus stepped closer to the guard. "Who came?" The guard hesitated. "We're not entirely sure. But the men we saw weren't ordinary visitors. Marcus's jaw tightened. Explain. The guard finally said it. They looked like men who weren't coming for peace. Grace felt her knees weaken. Marcus pressed his fingers to his temple, trying to piece the possibilities together. Are you saying David may be planning something? The guard gulped. Sir, the men didn't enter the mansion. They stayed outside the eastern wall for only a few minutes. They exchanged something with David. Then they left. Marcus turned pale. Exchanged what? We don't know, sir. Grace felt a chill crawl up her spine. Marcus's voice dropped to a cold whisper. Where is David now? That's the thing, the guard said. He's inside the compound. Inside, Marcus echoed. The guard nodded. He's been walking around the edges of the property since dawn, watching the house. Grace felt her throat tighten. Watching, but Victoria is already with the police. Then what does he want now? The guard didn't answer because even he didn't know. Marcus inhaled sharply and turned to Grace. Stay inside. Do not go near the windows. Do not walk alone. If anything feels strange, call me immediately. She nodded, fear creeping into her bones. But just as Marcus walked past her to leave the study, she heard something. A whisper. Soft. Close. Too close. She turned sharply toward the window. Nothing. Her breath came unevenly. Are you all right? Marcus asked, pausing. Yes, She swallowed. I thought I heard someone whispering. Marcus frowned deeply. We'll increase security. He left with the guard, tension following him like a shadow. Grace was now alone in the study. She looked again at the window. Nothing moved. No whisper. No shadow. But the unease in her chest didn't fade. Because a question had been planted. What if Victoria wasn't the only storm coming for this house? Grace did not leave the study immediately. She heard the guard's footsteps fade, followed by Marcus's. Then silence settled again. Heavy, uncomfortable, almost unnatural. The polished wooden floor reflected the golden morning light, yet the room still felt strangely cold. Grace's fingers tightened around her apron. Something was wrong. She could feel it. After a moment, she forced herself to breathe normally and walked out into the hallway. Other workers moved about, but much slower than usual, whispering in corners, glancing at the windows, flinching at unexpected sounds. The mansion that once felt bright and grand now felt like a place holding its breath. On her way to the kitchen, she passed by two maids, Ada and Kemi, huddled together. Did you hear what the guard said? Ada whispered. Kemi nodded nervously. They said the man outside hasn't blinked in hours. Grace paused. Ada continued, voice trembling. They said he's not looking for Victoria anymore. He's watching us now. Kemi's eyes widened. But why? We didn't do anything. Ada lowered her voice. That's what scares me. Grace's heart thudded. She stepped closer. What exactly did you two hear? Both maids jolted. They hadn't heard her walking up. Kemi exhaled shakily. Grace, we heard that David Mensah is roaming near the fence. He's not shouting anymore. He's not asking for Victoria. He's observing. Ada swallowed. They said he speaks to no one. He just stares. A chill brushed over Grace's arms. Stares at what? Ada's voice dropped. At the mansion windows. Before Grace could respond, a loud knock echoed through the hallway. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, heavy, too deliberate. Everyone froze. Another knock echoed. Slow, heavy, deliberate. A guard rushed down the hallway. Everyone stay back. Workers scattered into corners. The guard opened the front door slightly, then jerked back. The knock isn't coming from the front door, he said, confused. A second guard shouted from the kitchen. Sir, someone is at the side door asking for Grace. Grace felt her stomach twist. The maids beside her gasped. Marcus's voice rose from upstairs. What's happening? Sir, someone is asking specifically for Miss Grace. The guard replied, voice shaking. Marcus descended quickly, expression dark. Do not open the door. Check the cameras first. A guard sprinted to the surveillance room, returning breathless. Sir, it's David Mensa. Fear rippled through the hallway. Grace's pulse hammered. Marcus turned sharply. What is he saying? The guard swallowed. He says he needs to talk to the girl who held Victoria's hand. The house froze. Marcus stepped forward, placing himself between Grace and the door. No one speaks to her without my permission. Another knock echoed, louder, more forceful. Marcus clenched his jaw. Move Grace to the inner quarters. She must not step outside or near any doors. Two maids rushed to Grace, pulling her away gently but urgently. As they rounded the corner, she heard David's voice through the door. Deep, cold, focused. Grace Okafor, I know you can hear me. Her breath caught. The guards escorted her to the inner quarters, an emergency area with no windows. Only a single flickering light bulb. Grace sat on the bench, hugging herself. Why would David want her? A soft knock sounded. Grace! Marcus's voice called gently. She exhaled in relief. Marcus stepped inside, looking exhausted. He sat beside her. You're safe here. He can't reach this part of the house. Grace looked at him anxiously. Sir, why does he want me? Marcus hesitated. I don't know yet, but I promise I won't allow anything to happen to you. I don't want to cause trouble for your house. You didn't, he cut in. You exposed the truth, and some truths attract shadows. She looked up. Shadows? Marcus nodded. We think David is not working alone. One of my guards said he met with 3 dangerous-looking men at dawn. He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. I won't let him near you. Thank you, sir, she whispered. For a moment, the tension softened into something gentler, unspoken. But then a loud shout erupted outside. He ran around the back. Secure the west wall. Marcus stood instantly. Stay here. Do not move. He ran out with the guards. Grace listened, trembling. Minutes passed. 10, 15. No one returned. Grace stepped toward the door, just wanting to listen. Then a whisper floated through the vents above her. A man's voice. Deep, quiet, too close. Grace. Her blood turned to ice. Grace Okafor. Her knees wobbled. He was inside the ventilation system. Don't be afraid, the voice whispered. She backed away. Who are you? The voice chuckled softly. You already know who I am. Why are you looking for me? Silence. Then, because you are the key. Grace's heart pounded. Key to what? Footsteps crawled through the vents. Slow, steady. You are the girl who stopped a hand. The girl who broke silence. The girl who made the first crack in the mansion's mask. Her body trembled. I'm not part of anything. I know, David whispered. That is why you're important. I don't want anything from you. The voice deepened. But I do. Cold air drifted through the vent. Tell Marcus, David whispered. That Victoria's story is only the beginning. The vent clicked softly. Silence. Grace stumbled backward, gasping. She banged on the door desperately. Open the door. A guard rushed in. What happened? He's inside, in the vents. David spoke to me. The guard's face drained of color. Within seconds, the mansion erupted. Check the roof. Secure the vents. Grace pressed against the wall, shaking. David's whisper echoed in her mind. You are the key. But key to what? Marcus moved Grace to an upper suite, away from all vents. That night, a guard found something at the west fence. A small folded paper, sealed with tape, stuck under a vent cover. Marcus grabbed it. Grace hovered in the doorway, heart pounding. Marcus unfolded the paper slowly. His face drained of color. What is it? Grace asked. He turned the paper toward her. Written in block letters. She is not who you think she is. Ask her about Riverside. Grace blinked. Riverside? What is that? Marcus studied her face. You don't know anything about this? No, she said quickly, fear in her eyes. I've never heard that name in my life. Marcus believed her, but the message was too deliberate. Grace, someone is playing a dangerous game and they want you involved. Her breath became shallow. But why me? Marcus lowered his voice. I don't think David is acting alone. And they know your name. They know you stopped Victoria. They know you're important to me. Grace froze at those last words. Before she could respond, a scream erupted from downstairs. The guards reacted instantly. Marcus grabbed Grace's wrist. Stay behind me. They rushed down. Workers scattered. Ada pointed toward the back exit, trembling. In the garden. We saw someone standing near the fountain. Guards bolted outside. Marcus pulled Grace close. Don't move. Guards fanned out, flashlights cutting through shadows. Then one guard shouted, Sir, we found something. Everyone rushed toward the fountain. Near the marble basin lay a small black phone with a cracked screen. One new video message blinked. Marcus's fingers hesitated. Grace's breath caught. Play it, she whispered. He did. The screen showed shaky footage of the mansion grounds filmed from high above. David's voice spoke. This house has secrets, deep ones. You think Victoria was the only shadow in this mansion? He laughed softly. No, there are older shadows, hidden ones. The camera zoomed toward an upper window. Grace's window. Her heart stopped. David whispered, Riverside knows her name, and Riverside always collects. The video ended. Silence slammed into the group. Marcus gripped the phone, knuckles white. Who is Riverside? Grace felt her knees weaken. Sir, I swear I don't know who or what that is. Marcus looked at her. Her trembling hands, her wide, genuine fear, her innocence. He believed her, but belief wasn't enough. Someone knew something about her past. Something she didn't know. Something dangerous. Marcus lifted his head. Nobody enters or leaves this house tonight. The guards spread out. Workers hurried inside. The air grew thicker. Grace stood beside Marcus, trying not to collapse. What does he want from me? Marcus placed a hand on her back. I don't know yet, but I promise we will find out. They turned to go inside. Then a branch cracked loudly near the bushes. Everyone froze. Guards raised their guns. Lights swung toward the noise. A figure stood half-hidden behind the trees. Tall, still, watching. The world held its breath. The figure stepped forward just enough for moonlight to catch his outline, but his features stayed shadowed. Not David. Someone else. Marcus whispered, Who is that? The figure didn't move, didn't speak. Then slowly, deliberately, he raised one hand and pointed directly at Grace. She gasped. Marcus stepped in front of her. Get her inside. Guards rushed forward, but in one blink, the figure vanished. Grace clutched her chest, trembling. Marcus held her arms. You're safe. I've got you. But his voice shook too. The guards found nothing. No footprints. No trace. And as Marcus led Grace inside, locking the doors, David's whisper returned to her mind. You are the key. Key to what? She didn't know. But whatever was coming next would be much worse. Inside the safe room, Grace sat with Mama Tessa beside her. Child, what is happening? The old woman asked, worry on her face. I don't know, Mama, but someone thinks I know something about a place called Riverside. Mama Tessa's face went pale. Riverside? Grace looked up sharply. You know it. The old woman hesitated, then shook her head. No, child. The name just sounds familiar, like something I heard long ago. But her eyes told a different story. She was hiding something. Marcus entered the room. Grace, I've made calls. I have a private investigator looking into Riverside. We should have answers by morning. Thank you, sir. Marcus sat beside her. I need you to think carefully. Have you ever been to a place called Riverside? Even as a child? Grace closed her eyes, trying to remember. Her memories before age 10 were fuzzy, like looking through fog. I don't think so, sir. I grew up in my village with my mother. What about your father? Grace's breath caught. I never knew my father. My mother said he died when I was very young. Marcus exchanged a glance with Mama Tessa. Grace, he said gently, is it possible your mother never told you everything about your past? Grace's hands started shaking. Why would she hide things from me? Sometimes, Mama Tessa said softly, people hide the truth to protect the ones they love. Grace felt tears welling. But protect me from what? No one had an answer. That night, Grace couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the shadow figure pointing at her, heard David's voice whispering through the vents. You are the key. And she heard another voice too. A woman's voice from far away, from long ago. Forget, my darling. You must forget. It's the only way to stay safe. Grace sat up in bed, heart racing. That voice sounded like her mother, but younger, frightened. Was it a memory, or just imagination? She walked to the window. The mansion grounds were quiet, bathed in moonlight. But somewhere out there, David was watching, and the shadow figure was waiting. Both of them knew something about her, something she was supposed to have forgotten. Grace pressed her forehead against the cool glass. Who am I? She whispered to her reflection. Who am I really? In the darkness outside, unseen eyes watched her, waiting for her to remember, waiting for Grace Okafor to become someone else entirely. Someone named Amara. Morning came with heavy rain. The sky was dark, matching the mood inside the mansion. Marcus's investigator arrived early, his face grim. Sir, I found information about Riverside, he said, spreading papers across Marcus's desk. Grace stood nearby, heart pounding. Riverside was a small town about 200 miles from here. 15 years ago, there was a catastrophic dam failure. Massive flooding. 43 people died. Grace felt dizzy. The investigator continued. But there were rumors. People said the dam failure wasn't an accident. A pharmaceutical company called Medicorp was conducting illegal drug trials on villagers. A local doctor discovered the truth and was about to testify. Marcus leaned forward. What happened to the doctor? Dr. Emmanuel Okonkwo. He died in the flood along with his wife. The investigator paused. They had a 9-year-old daughter named Amara. She was presumed dead too. Her body was never found. Grace's legs gave out. Marcus caught her, helping her into a chair. That's impossible, Grace whispered. My name is Grace. Grace Okafor. The investigator pulled out a water-damaged photograph. A family portrait. A man, a woman, and a little girl. He laid it before Grace. This is the Okonkwo family, taken 3 months before the flood. Grace stared at the little girl's face, at her eyes that looked exactly like her own. No, she breathed. This can't be. Marcus knelt beside Grace. Look at the name. Okonkwo. Your name is Okafor. They're similar. It's a coincidence, Grace said desperately. The investigator shook his head. Miss Grace, records show that a girl matching Amara Okonkwo's description was found by rescue workers 2 days after the flood. She was unconscious, suffering from trauma and memory loss. She was handed over to a woman who claimed to be her aunt. Grace's hands flew to her mouth. The woman's name was Patience Okafor. She took the child to a remote village and registered her with a new birth certificate. Grace Okafor, born May 14th. That's my birthday, Grace whispered. Or the day you were pulled from the water, the investigator said quietly. The room spun. Grace felt like she was drowning. Marcus held her hand. Grace, breathe. Just breathe. Why would Patience hide this from me? Grace sobbed. To protect you, Mama Tessa said from the doorway, eyes filled with tears. Mama, you knew? Grace asked, betrayal in her voice. Mama Tessa shook her head. I didn't know the details, but your mother Patience told me once. If anyone asks about the child's past, tell them nothing. Her life depends on it. Grace stood, trembling. My life depends on it? Why? The investigator answered. Because if you're Amara Okonkwo, you're the only surviving member of a family that threatened to expose Medicorp. Your father had evidence. Documents that could destroy the company. He was going to testify, but died before he could. Did the evidence die with him? Marcus asked. That's the question everyone's been asking for 15 years. Some believe Dr. Okonkwo hid the evidence before the flood. And if he did, There's only one person he might have told where to find it. Everyone looked at Grace. His daughter, she whispered. Amara. But I don't remember anything, Grace cried. Not consciously, the investigator said. But trauma can lock memories away. They're still there. And that's why David is after you, Marcus said. He thinks you know where the evidence is. The investigator pulled out another photo. Thomas Mensa, David's brother, was investigating Medicorp. He'd discovered the connection to the Riverside flood. He found proof that Chief Hayes, who sits on Medicorp's board, ordered the dam sabotage. The pieces clicked together. So when Victoria killed Thomas, Marcus said, it wasn't just an accident Chief Hayes covered up. It was an assassination. Exactly. David has been searching for Dr. Okonkwo's evidence for years. When he saw Grace on the news, he recognized her. You look exactly like your mother. You have your father's eyes. Grace felt the world collapsing. Everything she knew about herself was a lie. What do I do? She whispered. Marcus stood, taking both her hands. We have options. We can run, or we fight. We find your father's evidence. We expose Medicorp. We finish what your father started. But I don't remember where the evidence is. Then we help you remember, Marcus said firmly. We go to Riverside. We walk through your old house. We trigger the memories. Grace looked at Mama Tessa. What should I do? The old woman's eyes were sad but strong. Child, you've been running your whole life without knowing it. Maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe it's time to remember. Grace looked at Marcus, at the investigator, at the papers, at the photo of the little girl who used to be her. Amara Okonkwo, daughter of a murdered doctor, the only witness to a corporate massacre, the key to justice buried for 15 years. She took a deep breath. When do we leave for Riverside? Marcus smiled slightly. Tomorrow morning. I'll arrange security. We'll bring lawyers, investigators, cameras. If you remember anything, we'll document everything. And what about David? Grace asked. Let him come, Marcus said, voice hard. He wants the truth? We'll give it to him. On our terms. That night, Grace packed a small bag. Mama Tessa helped her. Are you afraid, child? Terrified, Grace admitted. But I'm also angry. Angry that my parents were murdered. Angry that my whole life has been a lie. Angry that people think they can kill and destroy and get away with it. Mama Tessa hugged her. Your father would be proud of you. I don't even remember him, Grace whispered. You will, Mama Tessa said. And when you do, you'll know what to do. As Grace lay in bed that night, she didn't dream of water. She dreamed of a man's voice, deep and gentle. Remember, Amara. When you're old enough, when you're strong enough, remember. And finish what I started. Grace woke with tears streaming down her face. Not tears of fear. Tears of purpose. Tomorrow she would go to Riverside. Tomorrow she would face her past. Tomorrow, Grace Okafor would become Amara Okonkwo. And the truth would finally be free. Oh my goodness. This is just the beginning. If you absolutely need to know what happens when Grace arrives in Riverside, you must subscribe right now. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss a single update. Comment below. Do you think Grace will remember everything? What do you think her father hid? Is David a friend or an enemy? We read every comment and love your theories. Like this video if you want part 3 immediately. Share this with anyone who loves mystery and powerful stories. This is going to be epic. See you in the next chapter. Stay blessed.